Hola everyone, good afternoon, warm Pacific greetings. I'm happy to talanoa with you the research we're doing, and so I invite you to talanoa with me too. Talanoa in Pacific languages is to have a discussion, and feel free to talk with me. This is a 5-year program grant funded by the Health Research Council, and the research is subcontracted to the University of Otago, and I'm in the community in a research centre aligned with primary health care that has been subcontracted by the University of Otago to do this research. So the program itself, Taunakitanga Takitini, Reframing Self-Management Support for People with Long-Term Conditions and or disability, involves 3 research projects, and the Pacific project is one of them. My 2 research colleagues and research centres are based in Gisborne with Turanga Health and in Dunedin with the Donald Beasley Institute. And so for the Pacific project, Lūsia ki taulanga, it's in the Tongan language, and it means this. Imagine seafarers riding the high seas in stormy weather and not very sure about where their final destination will be. A compass would be helpful, but more importantly for us, it's the confidence and courage to continue and to believe that you have a safe space to land in. And so from Tongan, Lūsia ki taulanga, our final goal is to reach our destination safely in the Cook Island language, Maumaru, go well, sail well, we wish you well, live well. And so that's the focus of our research method here, using the whanua framework, whanua meaning land, to land safely. And I provide here all of the elements and that are involved in our engagement with our Pacific communities, and the different phases of the whanua framework, which are important to us, particularly focusing with the Pacific communities, what's important to them, and how we may engage with them to understand what self-management support means to them. Is there such a word in their language? And for healthcare professionals, how are they applying the Western models of self-management support? And if it actually works, if not, what can our Pacific peoples can do about it? And how we might disrupt or reframe current frameworks and apply culturally appropriate models for their better health outcomes. And so in phase 1 of this research, it was important to socialize our research in the community and engage with the different peoples, because it was important for us to obtain ethical approval to do this work in the community. And while initially we had intended to focus on one Pacific ethnic group, it became very clear as we met and engaged with people and talked about the research and why it was important for us to do this, it became clear that we needed to take a pan-Pacific approach and move from being ethnic specific, because this was a wider issue across our whole Pacific population groups. And so following achieving ethical approval to do the research, we ran our talanoa workshops in the community, engaging in conversations, building the relationships with different groups, not only in the community, but also with health professionals, healthcare professionals. And we involved people in primary health care, secondary care, allied workers, and the community groups were from our main Pacific populations across different age groups. In these workshops, we ran 7 workshops, a total of 58 participants altogether. That was enough to give us just this initial connections with the community to just talk about their experiences and how they might help inform an intervention that we could co-design with them, with healthcare professionals, allied services, social service support people, and community participants. So from our data, that was very interesting, analysing the data, and then going back into our community groups to share our feedback, what we had come up with, the number of brainstorming sessions we conducted amongst ourselves to ensure we understand what their experiences and views were, and that was important to ensure that what we had interpreted from the data was exactly how they wanted us to share more widely with our contexts. And so from that I will only share one key theme that came from our workshops, and this was very important from the community in particular, that identity was their superpower. That was very important, and in terms of us thinking about developing, co-designing an intervention for the community, this was going to play a major role in that intervention, and why identity was important for them, and why they identified it also was because they felt they were ready now to set sail. They were ready now to take part in the research, and in their readiness, they're willing to share their experiences, to engage with the researchers and the wider community. And here we represent, the different nations in the Pacific region, because that's important for them. When you start to talk with them, they'll say, they'll introduce themselves. I am so-and-so, I live here, I come from there, and I have so many grandchildren, I have children here. So I is a key thing, a key factor in helping us to inform future work in the project. And in their identity, the importance of their language. So culture is very important and will play a major role in the co-design of our intervention, so that people will feel they are supported. And so it's reframing support, self-management support to supported self-management. How can services better support the people who are living in persistent disadvantage to this day? And it's not only what we know from the work we do as researchers, but and that's important. However, it's the connections with our heart and the emotions and what it means for our communities. Our head and heart needs to be connected when working with our communities, the services that support them, and also the families that are directly involved with them. So we're moving now into the next phase of the project. We're in transition. Our protocol is being finalized now, ready to be submitted for publication. We're moving into the next stage of co-designing the intervention. We have a rough draft of what that might be, but it needs further engagement. And this is the challenge of engaging with diverse research communities. We need more time, more funding, more time again, and it's continual taulanga, continuous, ongoing. It doesn't stop until we have sufficient information and robust information to go into our ethics application, which we hope to submit by the end of this year, in readiness to implement our intervention in the new year. We propose a 12 months intervention, with health improvement teams, as well as the allied workforce teams within the Pacific Primary Health Organization that we are transitioning into over the next few days. And then we plan to evaluate the intervention after the 12 months period and be ready to disseminate the results more widely after that. But in the meantime, we want to share our progress as we go, because this is very much work in progress. And taking the Pacific communities and our healthcare providers, social workers with us too. I list here just some of the references that we have used in our work and will continue to include in our publications. And at this point, I want to acknowledge both HRC and the University of Otago. We have a website for the program grant and have posted in there our progress to date. Very importantly, that we acknowledge our participants and the important role they play in our research work. Key stakeholders, of course, there are a number of them, and it's important that we keep the connections with them. And I'd be very happy to connect you with our Pacific communities. If ever you need it, we can be contacted through Compass. And of course, the research team. We're a small research team in the community, but it's about our connections with Compass, other research networks I have with Morris Wilkins Centre, different universities, community groups, and sharing our information with community and vice versa, community getting to know the researchers better. Yes, in Cook Islands language, I say me taki ma'ata. Thank you very much for your time, and we can talanoa some more now if you wish.
Something that I find consistent among research projects is having an effective evaluation that meets the needs of the funders versus the needs of the community. How in your evaluation are you going to use measures that represent kind of a Western health or well-being model, whilst also kind of infusing that with Pacific measures of health and well-being?
Thank you. One of the things we're doing now is identifying who may be evaluating the intervention for us and having that discussion to understand, well, what is it that we want to achieve from this evaluation. We are aware of Indigenous models that we are very interested to consider, as well as Western models. But important to us is that we apply a Pacific culturally appropriate model that would be effective. And the community will have a say in it, because this is why it's important that we're connected with the communities, engage with them, let them know what we plan to do, how might they want to see this evaluation turn out. But as far as Western models are concerned, if it's necessary that we disrupt the Western models that are being applied now, we need to do so, because otherwise you'll get the same result.